I'd like to welcome everyone to HBCU Coaches Corner. I'm Rocky Miller. I'm along with my co-host, Mr. Stephen Campbell, and our featured host, none other than the SWAC legend himself, where you know one night in Mississippi, he threw in a battle against Willie Totten and the great Jerry Rice. He threw 6 touchdowns in a losing effort against Mississippi Valley State. None other than our main man, Johnnie Cole. Hey, Coach, before we get started, Coach, I want to say with heavy hearts today, recognize one of the guys who really was a staple among the HBCU football space, somebody who watched all the shows, somebody who listened and commented and even encouraged us. Also provided us with inside information to what was going on, and who is unfortunately no longer with us, Coach Cole, a guy by the name of Craig Hall. Yeah. I want to say shout outs to him and his family, along with the Body family, who he is a relative of, someone who meant a lot to Andrew, who even accompanied Andrew on his visit to Alabama State. He unexpectedly died shortly last week, just before the Bama State game, and it was such an unfortunate situation. And Andrew, had a great game, and I just regret that Craig is not here. It wasn't here to see it live and in person, but I'm sure he was looking down and really looking after Andrew while he made a sensational performance last week, man. And Craig truly will be missed. If you guys have anything to say,
I mean, Craig was a superstar of this podcast game. He's a very integral part of Andrew's success. He also reached his hand out to Texas Southern in a football program when he was around. He was a TSU man. I remember times he would call me all the time, and man, we talked football for hours, And I had an opportunity to talk to his wife, man, which is, of course, she's tore up about it. She said that she will always keep his number because she said a lot of people be calling, and even when I call, she kind of dropped the news on me. I didn't even know, and the first thing she said, "Man, is this Coach?" I said, "Yeah." She kind of let me know that Craig, had a liking to me, and I want to appreciate her and him and the whole Body family for making me a part of that family. We talk. I've talked with the dad since that happened and after the game, but like you say, Craig was a guy that he supported all HBCU podcasts, not just ours, all of them. So he's going to be dearly, dearly missed. He's going to be missed by me personally, and I wish him and his family and I'm sending up prayers for him.
Well, I can say the same thing. I talked to Craig a couple of times. Love his nephew, big supporter, and would reach out, and anytime I was doing a skit or something or a comment, would always comment with a positive comment. So, once again, I always say this, and Coach and Rocky, you're going to understand this too. When you come up through this space, it is a big family. Now, we don't always get along with everybody. We don't like everybody, but we're still family. And what this space allows us to do is to all enjoy successes and support each other when there's situations like this. So to the Body family, prayers out. To the Hall family, prayers out. And like I said, once again, I just want everybody to know we are here to be positive and be supportive, just like he was. So I ask everybody in his own name, to be the same because he was always uplifting, never tearing anybody down. So that's the thing about it. And that's what's great about this space. So I hope everybody will learn from him because that's what this space is really all about.
You're going to be missed, Craig.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
Well, the 2025 college football weekend, HBCUs. Man, we've seen a lot of good football, Coach. We've seen a lot of good football. And I just want to say, as being a coach before and overlooking all the SWAC, man, I'm going to give them a B. I'm going to give the whole conference, MEAC, I'm going to give it a B. I've seen some great things. I've seen a lot of, good coaching decisions. I've seen, the uniform, how they carry themselves, the execution. I thought it was good. I think it's going to be tight. Some of the games were close. Of course, we know the Prairie View Texas Southern came down in 6 seconds. Florida A&M and Howard came to, 1 point. It was some good football. It was some good football this week. And I'm ready to go. If you guys ready to go, I'm ready to go.
Well, Coach, this week one got started off on Thursday. And I got something I want to say, and I'm going to get after myself for a little bit, Coach, because I'm disappointed in myself, and I want to say this because we had a performance on Thursday by a young man in this conference that was absolutely sensational, and I had seen him play. I seen him play in his first college football game, not knowing it was him. At Baylor, and he came on the field against Baylor and was outstanding, right? I seen him play his whole freshman year and his sophomore year, and he, from a production standpoint, he was sensational, and for whatever reason, during the time when he got injured, in his sophomore year at Alabama A&M. Till Saturday, his ability in this conference was sometimes people's the legend of a person grows as you get farther away from their performance. But for some reason with Andrew, all the performances he had prior to him being injured at Alabama A&M, they were diminished for some reason. They were almost like swept under the rug, right? Almost like those things didn't matter. And I fell into the trap in somehow doubting what I had seen many times before. And when Andrew got a chance to play last week, he reminded us of who he is. And we all know who he is. We don't have to guess about who he is.
Yeah.
And he showed us. And so what I'm saying is, and I'll just sum it up and say it like this: I'm disappointed in myself because I doubted my own eyes. I listened to guys like Zoe talk about he hadn't beat nobody as a quarterback, understanding that they didn't win not because of Andrew. Andrew did all he could to win. He did. If everybody on Andrew's team played like him, then they would be conference champions. You understand, at TSU? But unfortunately, you were one of the first people that, and you're a quarterback guru, Coach. You said this guy's the real deal, and he says it's surprising that he's this good with the level of coaching he's been given up to this point. With better coaching, he can be sensational, probably even a pro prospect. And you said that. And I want to apologize to Rick, him. I want to apologize even to Craig, and because I fell victim to diminishing what he had already done in this conference and almost forgot who Andrew Body was, Coach. And I want to apologize because he reminded us on Thursday.
Well, I'm glad that we took this little time out to give him his flowers And the thing we were talking last week, Bishop, about, back in the day when we were coming through, it was all superstar quarterbacks. And that was the one thing that we were saying is, where's that guy at? Where's the quarterback? And, when we came up, the quarterback was on the fly. Everybody knew who was going to be the starting quarterback. This day and time now is a two tandem. Everybody don't know, reversing back. Andrew Body is him. He is the guy. And I think if he continues and stay healthy and they continue to be positive, because they're going to beat some folks. Of course, they got to get their defense straightened out. But this kid is him. He's the real deal, And if you've stayed with him since then, he's a hardworking kid. He's just as good off the field with his parents and with, he's a team guy. And he's the real deal. And I really think that if he stays on this pace, he will get an NFL look. He's got size. He's got speed. He can play different positions. I'm not saying quarterback, but I am saying quarterback. He might can go to wide out. He might can play a free safety or a strong safety because he is a tough kid. So I'm letting you guys know he's on the clock.
Well,
I'm talking about the NFL clock.
Let me say this, Campbell. I'm gonna ask you, Campbell, because you're a historian, Coach. You may be able to input on this. When the last time the SWAC or HBCUs, for that matter, had a guy to pass for 300, run for 100 against a Division 1A opponent?
Now, well, I'm going to tell you, so here's the thing. Now, Coach, I don't think Tavares Jackson ever did that against FBS. Now, Steve McNair, did he do that?
Yes.
One game?
I think he did against Mississippi State, or not Mississippi State, but Southern Miss.
Maybe
I don't know if he rushed for 100 yards, but it's close.
Yeah. So I'll answer this. The person who had the potential. So when you start throwing names like Tavares Jackson and Steve McNair out like that that alone, no matter the amount of 300, 100, but the fact that it's in that conversation says something. But I'm going to give it right back to you, but I want to say something. And I'm going to say what Coach said. FBS play, okay? He played at FBS school, right? So no matter the level, it's still FBS. He had the most impressive offensive performance of any offensive player this weekend.
At any level.
Show me enough. And like I said again, I know there's levels because there's group of 5, but FBS, that's who he played against. He had the most impressive offensive performance for the whole weekend.
And no interceptions. No interceptions.
So that's interesting. And shout out to Andrew Body. But, Coach, we got to move to this next game that happened on Thursday, Coach. And this was, I don't know how it could be any worse, in my opinion. And this was Alcorn losing to Northwestern. I won't belabor this point. I think it is what it is. Coach Thomas is a friend of the show. And so I want to recognize that. Shout out to Coach Thomas and and him coming on the show, Coach. But he can't be happy about what he saw on Thursday.
Well, let me piggyback off that because I was just as shocked as you was, and it is Coach Thomas, but it ain't Coach Thomas, and this is what I mean. Coach, they controlled the game, but you can't have 15 penalties, 15, 16 penalties. Now I don't know exactly what the penalties on. And I started looking at that, and I think they had 2 turnovers. That's just too much to overcome. You know what I'm saying? And when you give an opportunity to a team, and they start feeling good about themselves and momentum change, I think that's what happened. When I looked at the stats, Alcorn dominated the game. But you can't have 15 turnovers. You can't rush 20 yards and then you got to hold it, or pass interference. And and all that. You just can't do it. And you definitely can't turn the ball over 2 times. So you turn the ball over 2 times, 15 penalties. That's 17 plays in that football game that changed the outcome. It either changed field position, it either changed momentum, it even changed tempo, but it wasn't good for Alcorn State. So I know that coach could come back. He's going to look at that. They're going to have to make some changes. Of course, when you start getting too many penalties, the discipline. But I think Coach, he does have something to grab onto to say the reason why they lost that football game.
Now, Coach, in your opinion, and I'll pass it to Campbell, see if he has it. As a coach, and you've prepared all spring, you prepared all summer, you went in the fall camp, and you have a performance like that. Is the inclination to change a lot of things, or is it to just refine what you already have done? What would be the coach the instinct of a coach in that moment?
Well, I'm glad you asked, and that's the big thing about when you lose to a person or a team. I'm saying a person or a team that you shouldn't have. At least you could put your finger on it. You know what I mean? It ain't that they got better players, because you can't change the players you have. It ain't because your scheme. It's because we didn't execute right. You know what I'm saying? It ain't because we weren't prepared. We were prepared, but the guy dropped the ball or the quarterback didn't look. So if I got some things I could put my hands on, then I feel real good about it. I tell you what, when I was at Texas Southern, I knew when we played Tuskegee down in the Gulf Coast Classic in Mobile, I said, if we win this game, because I felt we had a good team, I said, I'll win the national title. We went down there, guys, man, and drove interception, fumble, penalty, and ended up losing to Texas Southern. I don't know what time I was so mad and so upset at my football team and my quarterback. Man, I benched it for the next 2 games. And, it hurt so bad because it was just like what you said. I couldn't put my hand on nothing. We were a better football team. You know what I mean? But I had a quarterback threw 4 picks, four uncontested picks, and it was just wild, man. It just bring back the memories. And I tell you, when we got back to the school, man, I told him, man, take that tape and throw it away. We didn't even watch that tape. We didn't talk about the game because I didn't want it to beat me twice. So I said that to say, coach got to go in there, make your corrections. Don't get on the team so hard because you don't want to get them down. Then now that team don't beat you twice. You're going in to play your next game, you still talk about the mistakes on that one. We didn't watch the film. I didn't even look at the game. We just started on the next game, man. And of course, you guys know we rolled on to a SWAC championship.
Well, Coach, that's what if I was a coach and my livelihood depending on winning football games, losing to a team that had won the game in 20 tries, Coach, that. To me, that's a U-Haul appointment. That's a U-Haul appointment. You may want a consultation at that point, Coach. That's what you're thinking, Coach. And I'm just saying it to say this: like, if you can't beat a team that hadn't won the game in 20 tries, Coach, that's pretty. That's.
What about the team that Prairie View won when they lost 80 in a row?
That was Langston, I believe, right?
Yeah. And you can't worry about that part. I mean, when I lost to Prairie View, my championship season, I couldn't have said, "Oh, well, there's the SWAC championship. We'll never win it. We can't win it." That never crossed my mind. We went, watched film, made our corrections, and of course, we rolled on through everybody else. So you can't let that game beat you twice. You know what I mean? You can't. You gotta let it go, Coach. You gotta let it go. Have a short memory. Get back to the business at hand. Now, I will say this: if you start looking over at some of your players and they ain't playing, they ain't good as you thought they were, then yeah, you got a problem. You got a problem. But I mean, statistic-wise, Alcorn dominated the game, except in the turnovers and in the penalties. And I think Coach is going to get that corrected.
And I'll just bring Campbell in on this conversation because your fan base faced a devastating loss last year by a team that hadn't won a game, I don't believe. How did that impact the morale of the fans? And do you think can you compare the two games for each fan base? The Alcorn fan base, which has a winning tradition of winning SWAC championships, being very successful. You guys have a winning pedigree, having recently won the Black College National Championship, but lose to a team who was winless at the time. Can you compare those two, or are there two different circumstances?
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to just tie the stats in. You know, Alcorn's quarterback, Jalen Tolbert, 19 for 44, 182 yards, 2 interceptions. Northwest State, Abraham Johnson only went 9 for 18 for 85 yards. So, again, it kind of starts to stop at the quarterback position, what I saw when I watched this game with Alcorn. Of course, through the pick six. Well, Alcorn got the pick six. And so they didn't even score a point. They scored 3 points. I think the thing, our loss is way more devastating because, A, it broke a streak, and it was a SWAC game and Valley. The one thing that Valley's going to be able to say, and this is the thing that you always hear, well, it wasn't a conference game. They're going to be able to say that. So for them, again, while the loss is big, and, you know, for a lot of people, they'll hear the 22 games, Alcorn can right the ship real quick by starting winning SWAC games. So they had a bit for us. There was no righting the ship after that. No matter if we beat Bethune or Alabama A&M, which we did afterwards, there was no we lost to Mississippi Valley that broke a streak that that streak should not have been broken against Valley. So it was way more intense, way more into that. So for Alcorn, I think while they're embarrassed, I think that for them, I think their fans are going to be able to brush it off much quicker. Because, again, if you ask half of those fans the name of the mascot of their team, 90% of them couldn't even tell you. They couldn't even tell you. I'll tell you, over half of them probably didn't know, other than if they looked on social media, that their school had lost 22 games straight.
Yeah.
So they don't have anybody where you got in the conference constantly every day. I've got to hear, which we got people in the chat, which I don't care, but that's what I'm saying. That's going to remind us that we lost the Valley. You see what I'm saying? That's part of the conference. So that's part of the lore. So FAMU got to own it. I think Alcorn, I think for them now, the thing that, and you know what, I'm going to say this, and Coach, I want to get your opinion. Before I started doing the show, right, I always had empathy for coaches, but now doing this show, talking to them, I really have empathy. So the things that I think that I want to say, I don't say, because when I sit back and again, like you say, Coach Thomas, he comes on this show, he feels good, he's got the quarterback, and then what you say, your team, that hurt me. That's one of our guys. You know what I mean? Everybody that's came on Coach's Corner, I have a personal relationship now to me. So I root for them no matter what. So when I see it, it is not just some random joke, oh, they lost, 22. These are things that I know Coach Thomas, his staff is like, the pressure's on now. And I don't care what people say that doesn't. And, you know, we'll get to FAMU. We'll have a whole segment about FAMU. But the pressure's on now. Because now you got to think about, is this the right person that we put at the quarterback? Did we have the right plays called? What a mistake. Because, you know, you got to restart all over and rebuild. Yeah. So that's the thing that I find interesting when I see a loss like this, that going into it. But I think, once again, what you can do, you can recover by starting winning SWAC games.
Well, you know, one thing about coaches, man, that's true. You got to be true to yourself. And I talk about how I learned and things like that. I remember playing Kentucky State at Lane, and we got to the stadium late, and we running out trying to get dressed. That's on me. That's on me as the coach. You know what I mean? We wasn't prepared. We didn't get that early. And, you know, coaches, you know, they take them dark days and dark times and look in the mirror and really, 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 you know, you got to really, really be true to yourself. And that's one of the worst things I hate when I'm around coaches and I'm around a program, is where I see a coach always blaming it on somebody else. Sometimes, you got to blame it on yourself as the coach. Did I have a team prepared? Were we ready? You got to go and evaluate yourself. If you're not doing those things, I mean, even I would scout myself. I would have a group of my coaches who would scout our offense, scout our defense on what plays that we like, what we like to do. You got to do checks and balance because you understand you got to know the whole gamut of it. So good coaches, that's what they do. And the guys that we've had on our show, I'm pretty sure they go back and they do that. And then they make the corrections and they get rolling. You gotta win that next one, and then after that next one, you win that one, then you're back on track.
Hey, Coach, it's that time. I want to thank everybody who's been watching us on the Off Script channel. We're going to suspend at the 30-minute mark. We're going to suspend the broadcast on the Off Script channel, but you can catch it on the Rocky Miller channel, the home of the HBCU Coaches Corner. So I'll put the link in here one time. Once you guys have switched over, could you please hit us with a 1 so that'll let us know that you guys have switched over, and then we'll go ahead and end the stream over on the Off Script channel. So thank you very much, Coach. But
real quick, I'm
go ahead.
Emmett Jones. Tell Emmett I'll definitely get Coach Jenkins on this show in the next either couple of days or next week. Definitely he'll be on the show, Emmett. Go ahead.
Okay,
Coach.
cool. Now here's something interesting, Coach. We had one of the guys that were on the show because we do want to get those guys their flowers. They're in a situation where they've come on the show, they've talked to our audience, they've interacted with us. I want to thank them. And one of those guys was Coach Terrell Buckley. He had a game where he hosted Southern. It was his very first game, and it was Mississippi Valley's first game, right? And it was Southern's second game. I want to ask you this here, Coach. After watching that game, I think it could have been a different. I watched it twice, Coach, because I watched it on SWAC TV in demand. And, Coach, it almost seemed like at points in the game, Mississippi Valley looked sensational. I'm going to be honest with you, very impressive. But it also looked like it was a team who had played the game playing against a team who had already played the game and knew their strengths and weaknesses. Am I off base with that, Coach, or is having played a game an advantage for a coach?
Yeah, I think you're right on. It was so much newness with Mississippi Valley, new coach, 50, 60 new players. We're playing at home. I could say one thing. I could tell that Terrell Buckley, Coach Buckley, pay attention to details. I like a well-dressed team. I think it says a lot about them. And I'm not saying well-dressed as their colors, I'm saying their shirts tucked in, their socks all the same, the shoes all the same. They look the same. Ain't nobody trying to stand out. I don't see 5 flags, a green shoe and a red shoe. I didn't see all that. And I seen a team that cared about the little things. The thing with Coach Buckley that he's going to have to overcome, he's going to have to sell himself. He can't sell Valley because